Hi there, it's Professor S. During the academic year, I just don't have time to record videos of the kind I want for instructional purposes. I don't have the time between teaching and other responsibilities to do new animations consistently, block screenshots, do filming, do editing, do reshoots. The time's not there. What I wanted to try to do right now, though, is create a series of videos where I can give students something a little bit more regularly, and it won't be direct science instruction, but it will hopefully still be useful. So this is the first of a series of little videos I'll be recording off the cuff while drinking a cup of tea. When the tea's gone, video's done. In this first video, I want to talk about a couple things you college students do that drive me nuts as a professor. And I want to be clear, there's a lot of judgment here, but it's aimed at myself as much as it is at any of you. When I was a college student in the dark ages of the 1990s, I was an idiot. Most college students, when it comes to studying, are idiots, at least some of the time. I had to learn a few things the hard way. And one of the biggest reasons I had to learn them the hard way was that I didn't have some curmudgeon in a video screen telling me I was being an idiot. Hopefully, you can learn something from this. I want to talk about test preparation. It's still early enough in the spring semester that it's not too late to make changes and hopefully do a better job of getting ready for your tests. In the sciences in particular, we rely on testing as one of our basic ways to establish whether students learn course content or not. It's pretty common. And most college students do their test preparation wrong. They start prepping for their test the week before the test, maybe even the weekend before the test. Doesn't work. Maybe you've gotten away with it up to this point, but I guarantee you sooner or later you won't. And the reality is, you should, in your courses, be trying to retain knowledge. I'm going to be blunt for a second. If you're taking a college course and your goal is to get a particular grade and that's all you care about, I just want the A, I just want the B, I don't care about anything else. Good luck. I'm not interested in helping you as a student. I'm not in this business to help people check boxes. I'm trying to train students to be competent healthcare providers. I'm trying to train the next generation of good doctors, nurses, pharmacists, veterinarians, respiratory technicians, dental hygienists, and the next generation of research scientists and technicians. I want my students to be competent professionals, and you can't be a competent professional by memorizing and forgetting. So to prep for your tests effectively, to actually master material, it takes time. When your brain is taking in new information, what's happening in here is new connections are forming between cells. The brain's forming new connections, new synapses between cells, and it's in these new patterns of connectedness that information is stored. What that means is you store information by building connections, and the real kicker is you can form those connections really quickly. Have you ever had the experience in any class? It doesn't matter which class. You were in class and the teacher was talking, you were doing some activity, and all of a sudden, a light bulb went off. Oh, I get this. Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. I'm totally following everything they're saying. This makes sense. I'm so excited. I'm learning. Oh, wow, I'm getting this. And then 3 days later, after having not reviewed it one bit, you go, what did I get again? Something made sense in class. I will remember now. It's those 3 days of nothing, or 4 days, or a week of not reviewing it. See, the brain forms these connections in a matter of minutes, and it gets rid of them just as quickly if they're not getting used. So you have to consistently activate and use these pathways to get the brain to hold on to that information. That's what it takes. And when you wait until the last minute to study, when you wait until the week or even the weekend before, what you're now trying to do is take 2, 3, 4 weeks of material and pack it down into a weekend, into a couple of days. You got to understand, we who are designing these courses, we leave time based on our expectation of how long it will take you to process information. If we're doing our jobs well, we're giving you enough material in a class period or in a week for you to process it within that week. If you really want to be successful in college courses, what you have to do is study for the test from the beginning. Start studying for the test the instant you encounter new information. Don't wait until the end. I like to use what I call the rule of 7. You should be ready to be tested on content in a science course about 7 days after you cover it in class. If you take 7 days to get ready, and when I say test ready, I mean 7 days, 1 week after you cover something, you are ready for them to hand you the test, take it, and do well on it. If you are studying regularly for test readiness, what ends up happening is as you get closer to the test, you have more time to focus on just the newer material and you can stay fresh with the old. If you wait until the weekend before the test, any neural connections you might have made in class 1, 2, 3 weeks before, they're probably not there anymore. And you're going to start from scratch. And we just cover so much material, you ain't doing it in 2 days. Not effectively. The bottom line is, if you want to be an effective student, you need to study regularly. Now, a lot of college students know in a science class, you got to put in the hours. Yeah, but not all at once. You don't want to spend your study time doing a 3 or a 4 hour block a couple days a week. That's actually not an effective way to approach it. You want to spend 15 to 30 minutes, maybe an hour at most, almost every day. Maybe a couple 15-minute or 30-minute sessions a day. Engaging the material that frequently helps you retain it better because you use it, and then you take a break, and then you use it, and then you take a break, and then you use it, and it's that constant usage and engagement that helps you retain it. Those neural networks that started to form during moments of inspiration stabilize, and the material is more accessible to you. You actually remember it, you actually understand it, you have a better chance of being able to use it. Now, to people who say, college is not the real world, I've always hated that expression. It's such a bull expression. What we do in college science classes especially very much connects with the real world. I say this all the time in my anatomy and physiology courses. Man, you take anatomy and physiology, even if at the end of the course you decide I'm not going into healthcare, no problem. You're still going to use the healthcare system. You're still going to get treated by healthcare professionals. The more you know about how your body works and the more of that you remember, better you can advocate for your own healthcare. So prepping for tests in science classes is really just, it's good for you in general and it gets you ready for the real world. The reality is, it's not just about how often you study. That matters. I need a timeout. I want to talk about sports for a minute. I specifically want to talk about something that athletes understand and get right, that college students get wrong, but there's overlap. Let's talk about team sports first. Football, basketball, baseball, soccer, hockey, doesn't matter what the sport is. When you participate in a team sport, when you're an athlete, what do? You practice regularly. What does practice involve? It involves repetitive drills, going over techniques again and again, again and again, again and again. I mean, that's what practice is. It's repetition. It's review, right? It's studying. If you're in an individual sport, a sport that might have a team element, but when you actually compete, you're competing as an individual in the moment. Racing sports, right? Like swimming, running, skiing, skating. What do you do in practice? Drills, drills, drills. Repetition, review. Practice is studying. But there's something else they do. In team sports, think about it. Before the first game, what does the team do? At least once, and usually more than once. They have scrimmage. And what's a scrimmage? It's a practice game. We do everything we've been reviewing to do in practice, but we do it under game conditions to see how we're doing, to see what we're doing well, what we're not doing well, so that the last minute preparation can be focused on shoring up the strengths and building up the weaknesses, compensating for the weaknesses. We can focus our last minute study preparation, the practice, to be more effective because we practiced the actual game. And in individual sports, it works the same way. My son swims, so I tend to think about swimming here. What do? Drill, 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 drill. Practice, 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 practice. But some practices, they get up on those blocks and they do a start as if they're racing. They do race condition practice. They get timed as if they're racing. They actually practice what it will be like to do the real meet. But they don't wait until the meet to do that. They do it as part of their practice. This whole idea of practice testing is something college students, in my experience, do not do enough. How do they study? Review, 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 review. They practice putting information in their head, but not taking it out. What is practice to an athlete? Practice is the repetitive putting the information into the brain and body so the brain and body knows how to execute. And then the scrimmage is when you try it out and see if it's working. You need to have practice testing as part of your study routine. And it can't wait till the last minute, otherwise it's no good. Right? They don't do a scrimmage the day before the game, they do it a week before the game. They give themselves time to learn something from that scrimmage. If you have a professor who gives you the resources to see sample questions or to build your own practice questions, great. But you can write your own questions. You can go online and find question banks to practice with. And then what you do with those practice questions is you create a little test, and then you take it under test conditions. What do I mean by test conditions? What I mean is you would say, let's say there's a diagram you anticipate having to draw on a test. And you anticipate spending 5 minutes working on that drawing on the actual exam. It should take me 5 minutes or less to do this drawing so that I get done with other things on the test. Then what do you do to practice? Put away the notes, put away the books, cover up any prompts, get out a blank piece of paper, write on that blank piece of paper, diagram whatever the heck it is you're trying to diagram, write it out as a question. Then you set a timer and you let that timer run. If you want 5 minutes to finish the activity, you know what I always tell students? Set it for 3. Simulate the intensity and the stress of trying to recall information under testing conditions. Put a little bit of pressure on yourself to see how you're doing. Once you know how you're doing, what can you do? I did well on this part, but I couldn't remember this other piece. I need to review this more. But you can only find that out if you actually do the practice tests. You have no other way of knowing that. And practice testing can be done in other ways. You like flashcards? Great, do flashcards. But you know what? Have someone else quiz you and give them, say, 3 seconds. They ask you to recite the information on the card. You have 3 seconds to recite it. If you can't do it in 3 seconds, it goes into one pile. If you succeed, it goes into another. And then you spend more time on the pile that you had trouble with. You have to practice recalling information, not just putting information into your head. So to summarize, because I'm down to probably my last 2 swallows of tea here. First, prep for your test. And hold on, hang on. In the sciences, we focus a lot on tests. This isn't just about testing. It's about getting into an application state. So if you are preparing a paper or an oral presentation or some other kind of project that is your big grade moment of that course, it works the same way. You don't prep at the last minute. You got to prep steadily. So you want to get ready for the tests? Don't wait till the last minute. Study regularly, frequently, in small intervals. Form those connections so you can keep access to that information. Form those connections and stabilize them through regular usage. And don't think you can be successful without actually practicing the real thing. Take time to practice testing. Don't just put information in, practice taking information out in a timely fashion so that you can take advantage of what you learn from that practice. Know what you did well on, know what you didn't do well on, and use that to guide future studying.